Hey guys, today I'm going to share with you the best class setup for the new FR556 Insurgency blueprint that's available in the new Iskra bundle in the Modern Warfare store right now. So hopefully you guys like this class setup and enjoy the video. So what's going on, ladies and gents? My name is Arbuckle. Welcome back to another video. Today we are once again back on Modern Warfare, and I wanted to share with you guys the best class setup for the brand new FR556 Insurgency blueprint. Like I said in the intro, this is a brand new blueprint that's available in the Modern Warfare store right now in the new Iskra bundle. It probably won't be here for long, so if you want to get your hands on this weapon, make sure to pick up that bundle as soon as you can. But overall, this weapon is pretty decent. I wanted to alter a few of the attachments to make this thing a little bit better without changing the way that this specific blueprint is meant to be played. So what you're watching right now is a little bit of gameplay of me demonstrating what this class setup is going to play like and just what it looks like, so you guys can have an idea of the class setup that I'm going to share with you in this video and see a little bit of gameplay. This is against some veteran bots, so overall this FR556 is a pretty decent class setup that hopefully you guys are able to dominate with. So if you guys take a look at the stats that we're going to get with the original Insurgency blueprint, you guys will see that obviously we get that massive boost to accuracy, we get a really small boost to range and control, and a very small drop off to the mobility stat. So obviously this class setup is specifically built to do well from long range. We still have a pretty decent aim down sight speed, but overall, like I said, we can make this thing just a little bit better. So if you guys take a look at the stats for the class setup that I'm going to share with you in this video, you guys will see that we still get an absolutely insane boost to accuracy. We end up losing a very small amount of range, not enough to make a difference whatsoever, but we end up getting a little bit more of a control boost, and this thing is going to be a little bit more accurate. You guys will see that we changed the scope up a little bit, as well as throwing a brand new barrel on there. So hopefully you guys like this class setup and are able to do really well with it. So if you guys take a look at the attachments, the muzzle that we're going to be using is the compensator. We're not going to change this from the original blueprint. This is a muzzle that we're keeping the same because we're getting recoil control, which is really important with this burst AR. You guys will see that we get a really nice boost to accuracy and control here. We end up losing a little bit of aim down sight speed, which we'll make up for with some other attachments, and we lose a little bit of aiming stability, which isn't going to be an important factor here with this weapon. As most of you guys know, aiming stability mainly contributes towards idle sway, and we don't really have any idle sway here with an AR. So the compensator is going to be a really good attachment to run. The barrel that we're using is the Forged Tack Ultralight. So the original blueprint called for the FR 15.9-inch Commando, which gave us aim down sight speed as well as movement speed. The Forged Tack Ultralight is essentially going to give us the same thing. All we're getting rid of is the movement speed, which isn't going to be that important with this burst weapon. I like having this Ultralight a little bit more because we end up getting the same mobility boost, but you'll see that we end up getting a little bit more of a boost to accuracy and control, which are obviously going to be two very important factors here when it comes to using this blueprint. So the Forged Tack Ultralight also giving us ADS speed to improve the ADS that we lose with the compensator. So the Forged Tack Ultralight barrel. We're not going to be using a laser. The laser is pretty much not necessary here with an FR, generally with an assault rifle in general. Believe it or not, the FR actually has really good hipfire accuracy without even running an attachment to buff that. So the laser is pretty much, useless with this thing anyways. So the optic that we're going to be using is the Cronin LP945 Mini Reflex. Now the original blueprint calls for the APX5 holographic sight. However, there's not that much of a difference between the stats between that and the Mini Reflexes. And I think the Mini Reflexes are much easier to use overall from pretty much any range. What's interesting about the APX5 is it's such a weird scope that it generally only does well from long distance. If you're in a really close quarters gunfight situation or even a medium range gunfight, that big scope on there is going to make it a little bit more challenging to do well. Whereas if you have a Mini Reflex on there, you're not only going to be able to do well from those long ranges, but you'll also be able to compete from really close range if someone comes around a corner or you're running through a doorway or just in any situation like that. So the Cronin LP945 Mini Reflex is what we're rocking here. Honestly, the optic comes down to personal preference. If there's another optic that you enjoy using that tends to have a smaller reflex, whether it be a mini reflex or just a standard reflex, you can go with the GI. It really doesn't matter. It just comes down to your personal preference on that. But the Cronin LP945 is what we're rocking with here. We're not going to be using a stock. The underbarrel that we're using is the Commando foregrip. So we're throwing the Commando foregrip on there. I believe the original blueprint has this because we're getting recoil stabilization as well as aiming stability. Like I said, aiming stability pretty much useless, but having more recoil stabilization is going to be really important, giving us a really nice boost to that accuracy, range, and control. The reason we're running the Commando over a lot of the other popular underbarrels, like for example the Merc foregrip, the tactical foregrip, pretty useless here, but the operator foregrip, is that we end up losing ADS speed with all of those, and we don't want to slow down this weapon even more. That's what's nice about the Commando, is that not only do we get that recoil stabilization, but we don't lose ADS speed. So a really good underbarrel to rock with here. We're not running any extra ammunition, not really necessary with this FR556. The rear grip that we're going to be using is the same as the original blueprint. So we're sticking to rubberized grip tape because we are going for distance. If this weapon was specifically meant for close to medium range, we would rock with something like the stippled grip tape to not only improve our ADS speed again, but to improve our sprint to fire speed, giving us a nice boost to that mobility. However, we end up losing a bunch of accuracy with that, so we want to stick to that rubberized grip tape, giving us more recoil control and one final boost to that accuracy perk. So there's also a few attachments that you can change around with this class setup based on the type of player that you are that I think are extremely good here with this blueprint. The first one being the barrel. Now, a lot of people like running the FR 24.4-inch sniper. This is a really good barrel to use and is extremely good from long range, although I recommend using the ultralight with this specific class setup. The sniper is going to make you end up losing more ADS speed, so it is going to slow you down a little bit and hurt your mobility. However, as you guys can see, you'll get a much bigger boost to your accuracy, range, and control, more so being the range. Now, like I said, a really good attachment to use here, and I recommend it for my defensive FR556 class setups. However, because this blueprint is specifically made to do well from long range, but also be able to do well from close quarters gunfight situations, I would highly recommend against using the sniper. But if you are more of a defensive player, this is going to be a good attachment to run. Now, another attachment that I think is worth using is the frangible disabling perk. This is a perk that's only very useful with specific weapons in the game, and I think the FR556 is definitely one that takes the cake for this attachment. What's nice about frangible disabling is what this does is stop your enemy from moving quickly when you start shooting them. And what's nice about using that with a burst weapon is obviously you're going to have a split second where you're not shooting any bullets. So if someone is on the run, maybe they're running around a doorway or running behind a wall, if you hit them with that first burst, you may only get a hit marker and you'll stop shooting for a split second, giving them time to get behind that wall or to get to cover or run away. What's nice about frangible disabling is that you'll actually stop them. So what this thing does is it slows enemy movement and briefly disables their tactical sprint when shooting at the legs. So you have to keep in mind that this only works when you shoot at the legs or lower. So make sure that if you are going from distance, shooting below the head is going to be a good way to slow them down. Now, obviously, I would always recommend trying to go for the headshot or the upper body shot, but most of the time when you're shooting people at distance, you know, the game, it's so fast paced, you're not really paying attention. There's going to be a lot of situations where you end up shooting below the hip anyways, and this will just be a really clutch thing to have because it will slow them down and allow them to stay out in the open to give you enough time to get off that second burst and hopefully take them out. Now, I love running this attachment with this weapon. I decided to keep it off of my best class setup because I thought there were a few other perks or attachments rather that were worth using. If you want to use frangible disabling, there is one thing that you can get rid of, and that would be the compensator. So I wouldn't get rid of the rubberized grip tape because we still get recoil control with that. The only con is aiming stability, whereas if you're using the compensator, you're losing ADS speed. So if you want to change and use that frangible disabling, definitely get rid of the compensator so that you don't lose more aim down sight speed, because if you get rid of rubberized, you're not losing ADS speed anyways, so you might as well just go ahead and get rid of the compensator. And if you want to change the barrel to the sniper, you can do that. Just again, keep in mind that that's going to be more so long range and not so well from those close quarters gunfight situations, since obviously you'll be losing a lot of ADS speed as well as movement speed. But overall, a really good class setup here for this FR556 Insurgency blueprint. So before you guys jump into a game with this specific class setup, I wanted to share with you just a little bit more gameplay so you can get a better understanding of what exactly this weapon is going to play like and how it feels. Keep in mind, guys, that if you don't already have the Insurgency blueprint, maybe you're hesitant to buy the bundle, you don't want to spend the money, and you just want to see what this thing looks like, you can actually test it out for yourself and essentially get the same feel. If you create a custom class setup for the standard FR556, you can throw the same attachments on there and it pretty much plays exactly the same. you don't have the camo, you don't have the fancy stuff that comes along with the blueprint. However, if you want to test this weapon out, see if you like it or see if you're able to do well with it, you can do that before you go and spend the money to get the bundle to play with the actual blueprint. So just an idea for those of you that are struggling with the idea of actually buying the bundle. But nonetheless, like I said, it's a really good class setup, and I really hope you guys are able to do really well with this thing. If you guys have any questions or anything else to add about this specific class setup for this Insurgency blueprint, please make sure to leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure and try to help some of you guys out. But I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see all you guys in the next video.